Catherine. Idori. Okay, so be moving when they get there. This is too late. Okay. I'm already offering, I'm drawing the attack, and I'm moving. So there's no waiting. Okay, so omote and ura. So guys, when you attack, Dave, right here, when you attack, try and give some structure to it, okay? If I was really attacking, this grab would be designed to do something, okay? And so if he does the Ikkyo and you see this, you've disconnected your arm from your center, okay? And it really wasn't, you're just kind of holding your arm out and letting him do this. And this, it looks like this. But if you have it connected to your center, it's going to move your whole body. Okay, so you can tell when people aren't really attacking, it's like, it makes the Ikkyo harder because there's really nothing to work with. But if you look, if he just gives me the floppy arm, there's no function to that attack. And so, you know, when I hit this, see right now there's function to it. And if I do it wrong, I hit the wall and he could actually counter me. He could do something back. So I have to actually do it properly. Okay. But if he disconnects, it's hard to produce that. This is something that, you know, when you do an art like Systema, where they really are focusing on, and you see them being super, super relaxed, you start to realize that, you know, even an art like Daitoryu or Aikido, where the emphasis is on relaxation, it's still about providing your partner with the kind of tension that allows them to produce the form that we do. If we take that out, it's not going to look like what we do. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. You know, I used to be able to play with the Systema guys and I could get a guy on the ground. It just was never going to look like anything we did in our basics because they really didn't give you anything to work with. And so it becomes quite different. Okay, so try and, you know, have some structure here. If he blows it, he runs into the structure. If he doesn't run into the structure, I take the ukemi. And the thing about the structure is that these techniques, because of the way they've been cleaned up from the old combat versions, which broke things, okay? If you have the proper structure and they do a good technique, it sets up the kind of ukemi you want to take. Because the other thing about not having decent structure is that their technique doesn't produce the shape you want to take the ukemi. Okay, so if it's not already up here, I'll bury it. Okay, so think of this as a strike to my face. You're going to point those fingers right at my eyes, and seeing that, I had to react to. Okay. You bet. And we're just going to practice just kind of walking forward and then drawing and cutting in one motion. Okay. So there's an action to this with your body. The action pulls. You literally are extending, but you got to pull the saya off the sword before you can cut. Or with a real sword, you blow through the end of your saya and chop your fingers off, okay? And I actually know a guy who was doing EI with a live blade and did his cut and looked out and the tip of one finger was sitting on the end of his sword. Okay, you don't want to do that. Okay, clearly. So as you do it, you're going to step out, and the step out will turn your core. Okay. And you're walking yourself off the sword, and then once it's clear, you're cutting. Try and cut till it's horizontal. Don't flick it, just all the way down to here. Okay? Just try that. Our more senior people would highly recommend getting yourself an Iaito and learning how to do draw and cut and noto, putting it back and the whole bit. When you look at somebody's Aikido, you can very much tell if they do paired weapons work, because even in their empty hand, they look more precise. And you can definitely see the people who are used to working with a blade, because their stuff's even sharper. Just the need to be absolutely precise with a blade is causes people to be very precise in their stuff. So it's just a good idea to have at least a fundamental idea about how to draw and cut and put the sword away. Okay, I did a number of years of Iaito back in the day. I don't have any rank in it because in those days there was nobody in Seattle who could give rank. Okay, and later on, I had opened this dojo, and a Japanese teacher moved to town and was able to give rank. So all the people I'd been training with got sandan, but I didn't get anything because I was not doing it by then. So it's too bad. Just the fundamentals. Okay, and so now put your swords away, and I want you to look at the action here. Dave. So Idori still. And there's two things happening. Gleason Sensei would talk about leading, following. Okay. I don't know if he still talks about that, but he used to all the time. Try the Ikkyo just with the lead hand. You should be able to get him down there. So the action is exactly the same as sword. You got to drop into your legs. If you don't drop into your legs, this is what you'll get. If I drop into my legs, I can get that. So just try this. This is the lead hand part of Ikkyo. So Dave. And then this hand is opening him up for what would be, if we were fighting, the atemi. Could be an attack to the joint, could be attack to the ribs, whatever. But we're using it to catch their center, okay? And so what I want you to do now is lead him up to here, and then just the elbow hand. Weight shift, core turn, okay? We can be a little stronger, okay? This is going to float him because I'm coming in underneath him. And then don't forget about the wrist bow, if you can do that. And take it to there. Okay, so lead him and then complete it without the cutting hand. Okay, go ahead. Strong. Okay, it shouldn't make any difference if you're strong. So guys, look, One of the things about the wrist bow is that you're still going around the point of contact. And so I've come in and I've filled the space underneath him and floated him a bit. But what's interesting about the wrist bow is that I'm not pushing. Everybody wants to push. But actually, if he's pushing into me and I'm doing the bow, something's retreating and something's invading. So I can sit here, and if I do this, the harder he pushes against it, the more he takes himself up off his base. I'm feeding back to him what he's putting into me. So that just, he's pushing pretty hard against me, but it just doesn't make any difference. Now, right here, it's going to his back leg, so I just need a little more core turn so it doesn't go where he's supported. Okay? So don't be too easy. You want your partner to be able to feel this, the effect of this bow on the elbow hand.
Touch.
Well, ostensibly, I've entered in a way that lets me get underneath you. So once I'm here, it shouldn't be more than that. I should have, without changing this pressure, there'll be some pressure when I open you up right there. I'm in. More than that is too much. More than that's going to push you away from me. See, this is exactly what's going to happen. You're going to step out of it. So I just want to fill the space and take you out over your toes. Now, you can push against this because I'm going to feed back to you everything that you're giving me. I don't know anybody who talks about this, but you can see Sensei do it. Okay. So sometimes Sensei will do an Ikkyo when he really goes all the way down, and you'll see his hand is this way when the guy hits the mat. He's really bowing. Now, that's bowing too soon. So, if you've got a basic ball, there's the North Pole or 12 o'clock if we're using clocks or whatever. So if I try and bow too soon before it goes over the top, I'm still running into him. Underneath him, out and around. Now, see, he's starting to tip. When he starts to tip, this can begin to happen. But I started here. If I start here, I'm going to start it too soon. Underneath. Just like Kokudosa. Then it bows. And so I'm really coming up this side of the ball and going over the top of the ball and down the other side of the ball. With the ball being, in this case, very small. Okay? So you get the idea. So eventually, both of these spirals, kata-san, both of these spirals combine to produce the technique. So here's the lead, here's the follow. You're trying to get the grab if you can, okay? Mainly because it still makes it hard for me to hit you here. So, and then all of that's happening like the sword cut. So instead of 1, 2, which is what everybody does, okay, you don't draw your sword, pause, and then do the cut. It comes out. And so I want to have this whole action right here and put it into the floor in one motion. Okay, so do that. Ski. Okay. I'm going to move off the line and bring this right up. And right now it's a block. If you were really doing this, it's a strike to the wrist, taking the hand off. Okay. So when you see weapon to weapon contact like this, it's how you practice the move. Okay. Then from there, we're going to go out and down and throw that weapon out like that. Now, when this is, once again, the real move, aside from the first move being breaking the wrist, the second move goes dead center And if there's anything left holding on there, it gets broken. So Chiba Sensei used to tell his students to do a release here, and he would go right in there. And if you didn't release fast enough, he hit your hand. All the guys I saw had pretty enlarged knuckles, the seniors, from being hit because they didn't release fast enough. Chiba didn't slow it down. We're going to go off center so that nobody's hand's getting hit. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm actually going to throw this there, not directly at him. That's the real move, and we're not doing that right now. What we are doing is how to do this spiral. And then there's a ski. No, there's a version of it on the other side of the Joe that's different. If I'm on the other side of the Joe, on this side, the move's this.
No, I meant the hand strike you did before. Still coming over.
It goes right into you. And if if you're still holding on, your hands get hit. If you jump back and you're still holding on, your hands get hit. And if you don't jump back, you get hit. And obviously the guy doing this move doesn't really care what he's hitting. He just wants to hit you. So yes, here, using your legs, it's actually very relaxed. What happens with most people is that they don't project out. And so they get this. Okay. This is Ikkyo, which is, of course, why we're doing it. It may have occurred to you that there's a connection. And yes, this is Ikkyo. Okay, so give it a try. And since we're throwing it offline, you shouldn't be hitting anybody's hands, hopefully. Okay. You can also make it easier for yourself when they practice this to not have your hand out so far. Okay. Normally, when we do a real strike with the Joe, the front hand is just about on your side of the center line. See that? That's about where it goes. You can, if you know we're like in number 4, there's some various forms where they're going to do these spirals. You can extend farther out, which means he's got more of the weapon to practice on. Okay. Other side. And he won't come anywhere near your hands. So guys, one of the things that you'll see when people do this is, where does his weapon go? And a lot of times people start spiraling down back here too soon. And so if you watch, his weapon goes up. And if they're kind enough to stay with you, it'll go down at the end. But still, the motion shouldn't take it up too much. It takes it out and down. Front hand action is just like slapping. It's that loose. And I should be able to put his weapon on the floor in his back corner, which is the basis of Kumi Jo number 4, which is a slightly different move than this one. It's this guy, but it's still, and nobody does it this way, but it's still supposed to take his weapon and put it out there before it flips. Okay. And once again, what everybody does is something that looks like that. That is not going to give me enough time to do my next move. I'll just be getting to the top when his ski hits me. Okay. So the whole idea was that I would throw him out there, he'd have to recover, and I would have time for my next move. So anyway, similar, but not exactly the same spiral, because we're not just the block and the Ikkyo, and then realign for the ski. Okay, go ahead. So guys, take a look. This move can be done on the fly. And if he was, say, coming in with something like Yokomen, okay, you could do that. So as he comes in, I'm already running it. Okay, that's possible. Because on Yokomen, there really isn't a strike to the front hand particularly, because usually I'm zoning out a little bit. Okay, so the strike to the hand would actually be there. Be a little different. Okay, so right now, don't do it on the fly. He's coming in with the ski. There would be a shot to the wrist. The footwork, if I was really doing the wrist shot, instead of just zoning out with the back foot, which changes my body angle and lets me block on the weapon, there'd be a cross step. Front foot steps. So he's coming in here and I get off the line this way. Then I'd realign. Okay, so we're not doing the cross step. Just the back foot moves off the line. Okay. What does this look like? What did we do last? Hold that, please. Catherine, come in with the Joe. What did we do last week? We were doing Joe Tori, and she comes in, the back foot goes off the line. Then, you'd be correct if you thought this was the same thing. We're just doing it with weapons right now. Go ahead. So actually, since Sean just found one of the variations, not meaning to, but he did. Okay, Kata-san. I'll show you the three, because Chiba Sensei would talk about there being three of these. Okay, one of them is an ankle strike. Okay, so let me throw your weapon out. Okay, so if I really throw his weapon out, okay, I might be able to get at that ankle. Right now it's not. Okay, but if I got it back here, the ankle's open. So one of them goes low. Then there's the one that hits the hand. It's tighter spiral. And then there's the one that Sean just discovered, which is this just goes in. And you go straight in. Okay? So there's three spacings to this. One we're doing is out here. There. See, and there's the ankle. If I really drill that. Okay, so ankle in a little deeper, hand in a lot deeper, just goes right to their body or their head. Okay, and since we don't have any equipment on, we're not going to do that one. So then, Jerry, this side here. Jerry's going to ski on the same side, still left foot forward. Okay, it's like sword is basically default setting is right foot forward. Joe is the opposite. It comes from spear, and the default setting is left foot forward. Okay, so he's going to come in the same way, but I'm actually going to fade the other way. And so I'm going to be on the opposite side of the weapon here. And what I'm going to do is drop right into this and ski. And as you can see, this is very powerful. If he'd had a lesser quality Joe than that, I've actually broken Joes with this, right? So you don't have to be crazy, and some of you are using dojo weapons. So if you hit those that hard, they probably will not be dojo weapons anymore, okay, because they won't survive it. Okay, so there. You saw how fast it was. When you really do it, this hits the bottom and I'm coming out of it into the ski in one motion. Okay, so it's there. Okay. Right now, since I'm mostly interested in understanding the Ikkyo component of this, you don't have to do that fast. It's fine to go 1, 2, 3. Okay, go ahead. Since you know this is coming, absorb, try and keep your weapon in your hand. Okay, but absorb with your body and your legs. Because this is, as you saw when he wasn't ready for that, his weapon went right out of his hands. Okay, so you know what's coming on this. It's not going to be a big surprise, or at least it shouldn't be a surprise since we've just been doing it. So absorb with your body and try and keep the weapon under control if possible. Now, don't lift your backhand when you do it. So guys, look, depending on what you're trying to do here, in this case, don't lift your backhand when you do it. Because if you look, that's going to scoop his weapon as I hit it. Now, if you do it intentionally, that's a pass through. You're going to pass it from one side of the line to the other. So you might choose to do that. Because now look, I have a shot for his wrist. Okay, but that's not this move. This move is a wrist break, okay? Or a hand break. So it goes down, right into there. Okay, punch to the face. So he's coming up. This is your, I'm not going at it. If he was coming deep enough to hit me, all this did was take him past me and let me be on the inside now. Okay? We were really fighting. There's a strike here to the elbow. Could go in deeper and hit the body. Right now, I don't need to. And then 1, 2. 1, 2. Same basic spiral. Now it's tighter now. Okay? Because you're not going to be able to take this punch, stay there, and do the big arc that you could from a showman or from the grab, okay? Because it's pretty tight spiral here. So this is going to be a tight spiral, just like what you did with the Joe. So the footwork is simple. Kind of what we were doing before with the Joe. I got to change angle a little bit so I don't run into the, so you watch when I go to drop this, my body's changing angle because I'm just moving the foot, but the arms are just dropping, just like we were doing with the weapon. Give it a try. This is your tight spiral Ikkyo from ski. Don't even try and make as big an arc as that, okay? Because think of this as a Joe. The Joe is a rigid piece of wood. It's not going to flex. So you're not going to get a curve out of it. It's here. So how do I run this tight spiral that just goes down? Yeah, see how it's hitting the front leg? Okay, that's why there was an angle change. If I just drop here, I probably hit that structure. So when I took that foot out here, look at my angle. It's fine if you, just like we had with the Joe. There was the Joe that threw their weapon, and then there was the Joe that hit them. So there's nothing wrong with going right here and coming straight in. It's just not, I mean, it's not an Ikkyo that's going to put him on the floor. It's an Ikkyo that put, okay, I caught this, dropped it into his foot, Unless he shifts, it's hard for him to kick me. And until he tries to get this hip pulled back, he can't hit me with the other hand. And by that time, I'm in with the ski, just like the joke. Boom, in. But it's not the Ikkyo that puts him on the floor. So have to change angle for that. Now, actually, before everybody stand up, and we're going to take this motion, left hami. You're going to slide back, and you're going to bounce off that and go back in. So it's not 1-2, it's really 1. Bounce off the back foot. Yeah, it's got to be fast. Good. So here's what we're going to do with that. Kata-san. Sho Minuchi. This hand. Okay, so when he comes in, yeah, he's going to be solid right at that point. That's where all his power is. Let it run out of juice. Usually what happens, he actually did his cut. But usually what happens is they see him moving back and they try and keep this on target. Okay, it doesn't really matter which. Okay, but as he comes in, I'm zoning out so it runs out of gas. Okay, try and stay on target on the head. Okay, yeah, see, he would try and stay with me. So I'd go back and I'm inside. If he follows me, by the time I rebound off the floor, I'm inside. You see him make the little stutter step? When I moved back, he was planning on being here and he tried to stay with me, okay, which he's supposed to do. He's trying to hit me. So you draw him out, and then when you bounce off that, you're actually inside. Okay, this is an arimi, but it's done differently than most of the others. Zoning out and coming in, zoning out and coming in. And there's your rowing exercise, but it's a little more bouncy. Okay, go ahead. So make sure you're really trying to hit your partner so you have, a real clear focal point, because they're going to try and be just outside that. Don't be overshooting on your strike either. Okay, it's like if you were really coming in, yeah, put it right there. And if you were really hitting me, you'd be sinking into that front knee and going about through my head just a little bit, which means when I make this step, I should just be outside. Okay, but if they're barreling in and overshooting, okay, especially because they now know what the technique's going to be. So all of a sudden they don't move. They start coming in anticipating you're going to move back. And the showman is now on my forearm on her head. It makes it difficult to get outside it. That's why I say be real precise about your focal point. She wants to be here. She might even be expecting me to come in. And then right there. Okay, so this is, once again, this is the kind of technique that you do that works when the people that you're doing it with are experienced, and can fail miserably when they're not experienced because they're doing weird things with their attacks. Don't overshoot, don't undershoot.
Well, you don't overshoot, but you did say that I should try and...
Yes, and it depends on when you see it. It's like if right now I move back, you're just going to change your spacing. Okay, I'm letting you see this. This is just the same as offering your hand and setting a focal point for them. Ah, there I am. And then, they see this come up. Well, you're going to key off on what's in the foreground and what's carrying the most energy. This is going to catch your attention. Then when you see this, I got that little hop. But it's like I reached in first and sucked her out. It's not just me zoning out, or she'll adjust. Okay, you look at He's coming in here. There's his focal point. I bring this up, telling him that I am in fact still here at the focal point, but then I'm sucking him deeper. And then when I move forward again, I'm through him. Okay? So I'm behind him. And I could actually drill him on this. Right now, we're not. Right now, I'm just going back out, in, and taking it out here. If I was really serious about it, this would be the Joe move that went right to the head. So I would zone out, and when I zoned in, I'd be right in here, and it would go right through him. Right down. He'd have to actually be able to turn and fall. And if they don't have good ukemi, they crush and fall on their butt in a heap. Okay? Because you've got to be able to turn very rapidly on this one. I'm not going that deep, right? But I am sucking him out so that strike runs out of juice. Okay? It's like that strike has all sorts of power right up to here and a little deeper. Outside of that, there's no power at all. Neener, I don't care. So on this one, be outside it. It's not really a lot different than fading on a punch. Doesn't matter whether he can break 12 bricks with that punch, as long as I'm not there when he gets there. Okay? You normally don't have to step. Alex is coming here, and then do it again. And he sees this happening, so he comes a little deeper. And by that time, I'm in there. And, you know, if I do step, it's right about here on the cut. It's more of a follow through. So when we did the Joe before, we had one where we went drop it, ski. Okay, so it was the Ikkyo spiral, potentially breaking the hand or putting their Joe on the floor, knocking it out of their hand, maybe. Okay, depends on whether they're ready for it or not. Okay. So let's take that spiral and think about the ski part of it. Let's come in, showman. There's your Ikkyo spiral. And I'm not even worried about getting in under the, okay, just like the sword cut we did before. There it is. Maybe it tips him, maybe it doesn't. And then there's the ski. One, 2. Still Ikkyo, but I'm not worried about getting the arm over the top of the ball. Still the same, but I didn't get underneath it. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't want to get underneath it. Sometimes you just want to be on top. Okay, so think nice and loose here, ski. Go ahead. And it should ideally feel just like what you did with the Joe, assuming that you were doing it right with the Joe. Otherwise, it's a problem. Yeah, don't get too perpendicular. Okay, if you look, where's the tip of the Joe? Normally it's on him. So I want to hit him, boom. If I want to throw, I'm going to take it off a little bit, but it's not a push. It's still, it's a ski. Well, you could say it's, if I went this way, it would be sumitoshi. Right now, I'm going across you and catching that back hip. So it's that corner I'm going to, okay? So he comes in here and it's just like, there, ski. So if you get this way, your Joe is pointing out there and there. You're getting out here on the arm. You see, and if you make your arm relaxed, I got nothing. Where I'm going is here. I would like, so if the arm's there, great. If the arm's not there, I'm going across your body. So guys, remember, this is really supposed to come out of your legs and it should not be the bobblehead. Okay, no. You're here. Rowing exercise, drop into the knee. Come in on the line. Here's the line, right here, this side. This half of me is already off the line, okay? And in this case, since I'm deflecting, I don't really need to have anything else. I don't even need to do this, okay? Because you're the one going off the line. Notice there's a leg block there if I decide to put it in. I didn't really decide that, but it happened. I think because you were trying to step back with that foot, and that's why it hit. Okay. So, could go off the line if I wanted to and still do it. If there was another attacker coming, I might choose to do this, but then I wouldn't probably throw you away. I'd probably rotate and get you in the way of them. So it just depends. But no, this is not required off the line. If you look, core rotation. If he's pile driving me, this took him here. He's missing me. And the other's swinging in. Boom. So that maybe, but I don't need to go off the line. Okay. It's not that you can't do it like this, but if you look, where's the energy going? Here. Some of this is coming back at me. There's your spear. I want this coming out my fingertips and going through him. And there's a spiral here as I do it. Okay. That will make you more solid. It will take up some of the slack out of your connective tissue, and he'll feel like he ran into a wall. Now, that's enough striking. Back to same hand grab. And when he comes in for same hand grab, this time you want to meet this palm up. Palm down sets up other things. I want to come palm up, and just as he gets there, I'm going to turn it over. Now I'm going to step back right on the line and just let it fall. Okay, and this is the nice version, because by stepping back, his face does not have to encounter this knee. The real version dropped him right here into that kick. Okay, no step back. So a lot of Aikido, if you look, we make a space and let the partner fall into the space. In the old days, they didn't make a space. They let you fall into something that was bad for you. Okay, so around this spiral is coming from my core. And once he's reoriented like this, look, there's the Ikkyo curve. I'm standing, literally standing on the Ikkyo curve. So this just falls. Okay, other side. Okay. So palm up, turn it over and step back and just let it fall. It is actually very much like you swung it up here and then you slapped your leg and you just slap the retreating leg. It's that loose. Go ahead. The fly. Okay. I'm reaching up to you here. I'm already stepping back. So this is one of those ones where you're running energy out and back at the same time. I'm not collapsing here with the step back. I'm still going forward into you, but I'm already stepping. Okay. And sometimes, depending on how fast they're coming, I might have stepped, and as they start to fall, I don't want them to hit that knee. So I might actually make another slide. You might see slide, slide. So your nose doesn't hit my knee. Okay. Think of this spiral as like turning a door handle. You know, if you go over to the door over there, you go that. You don't go, you just turn it over. Okay. So there's the connection, and you turn it over. Give me a grab. So you turn it over and slap your leg. And he says, just that brought him in like that. Now, I don't want to be there this time. Okay. So what everybody does when you watch, I've seen Sensei teach this technique, and people are moving their arms all over and trying to do these big arcs, and their shoulders are involved. You watch them and they're tipping their body to make this happen. It's way easier than that. Turn it over and let it fall. And that's why you can do it fast, okay, which actually has some martial application. Okay, so now I've shown you the bad one. Don't do that. So technically, we call this reverse Ikkyo, only because you're in the opposite side of the arm. Our normal Ikkyos that we've been doing have left us on the outside here. Okay, and if you look at this one, he's in precisely the same position. Okay, let me do the Ikkyo. Let me do it. Stay there. That's why. It's the same from his standpoint. It's just not the same from my standpoint. I'm on the opposite side of the arm. Okay. This actually lets you do some fun stuff. Okay. Because you can go like this, drop him, take his head, shoot it through, spin him. There's actually an arm break off that, and there's other bad things. There's even a choke in there, but I don't do that anymore. Okay. It does have to cross center line, or at least be on center line. If I just turn it over here, you don't break, and it's going into your leg. So there, little core turn. Well, once I've done that, see, there's the Ikkyo curve. So it doesn't drop straight, it crosses the line. There's a choke when you spin them that they end up in the choke. You reach down and grab across and get the gi, and then you spin them, and they're. And there's also, just like in Kodagaish, when this drops her, and I then spin her through here. If I have the arm, there's an arm break right here. Don't do this with your friends. Same hand, this time, palm down, and you're going to step in. But what you're going to do, lock that joint. So, spiraling, you're going to go from thumb up to thumb down, and then there's a wrist bow, and the elbow and knees are actually going in. If you look, when the elbow is opening, the elbow is going towards them. This is actually retreating a little bit. And I'm sending this right up across on his Ikkyo curve. Technically, I think this is a small spiral nikyo, but nikyo is just Ikkyo done with a little added locking. Okay, so this is an Ikeda Sensei specialty. Be careful on this. Okay. until you've checked out their ukemi and how responsive they are, do not do this fast, okay? Because you've got to be ready to move quickly. Because when it's really done, he's coming in here and it's on. He touches and it's on. So you've got to do it that fast, you have to have a responsive uke. With most of you guys, I don't do it quite that fast. So I'll let you come in and then I'm shifting in a more gradual fashion to let you know what's going on. But it's really just down here, coming out of your core. Everybody wants to pick it up for nikyo. You run into them. Remember we talked about the cow catcher? This extension is actually out underneath them. If I move forward, he's going up. If I spiral when I do that, I'm getting a lock, and all of this goes straight on his Ikkyo curve out the other shoulder. Okay, so not a lot faster than that unless your partner happens to be very responsive and you feel like, can I do this on contact? But don't do that on everybody. Check your partner out and see how well they're moving before you do it, because it's quite abrupt. So this is what you're trying to do. Is they're actually this way too. I'm actually this way. No, you're there. You're fine. But I'm already stepping here. But what you're trying to do is use what in racket sports they call body English to send this spiral up, extending out, shifting in, spiral. There's the shoulder. That took him up. If I drop into that, he goes down. So you notice the shoulder's really uninvolved. My shoulder's uninvolved. Punch the face again. So 1, now the ski comes at his face. You should protect yourself. Okay, so the moment that happens, there's your Ikkyo on the other side. So now you're using your atemi to set up the second Ikkyo. Okay, so 1, 2, and down. Eventually it's all one motion. Okay, here, here, here. Go ahead. Just have... So remember the feeling of the ski that we had. Don't get involved with you notice this one's free. I'm not grabbing that hand. So guys, there's a little bit of bounce on this. I'm taking the line here and I'm bouncing in here. But if he's floppy like that, if he takes his arm away, he's just left 2 skis here. So usually they're a little tougher than that. They want to stick to you. Okay, so I'm actually going to bounce off the floor there. No, stronger. So take it in your legs. Legs. Yeah. So he's staying connected to protect himself. I'm going to bounce off that. So it is falling. Don't just come in here and throw the atemi, because that leaves him functional. I want him. Okay. Okay. Because they're going to probably block it this way. So if you did that, I'd probably do that, because I'm going to be on the other side. But if I do the front hand, you're probably going to be here. So I have nikyo, riminage, ikkyo. Just depends on what you're trying to set up. That's the other hand.